explain this crisis that we're looking at with veterans services in North Central Washington? What are we at risk of losing here?
Absolutely. So currently we are at the very tail end of a 3-month extension for our federal contract because the release of the new contract wasn't released in a timely manner or on time this last spring. So as a result, they gave us a 3-month extension, which ends on June 30th. If we don't receive another 3-month extension, then the services that are supported by the vet center will be terminated at our office, which would impact about 100 veterans, which would leave us to refer them back to other providers, which the resources and access in Wenatchee is very challenging. So at the VA clinic on the north end, there's currently no therapist, so they're referring everybody to telehealth. In Idaho or Spokane, which has a 60-person deep wait list at this time. We can refer them to the Yakima Vet Center, which is a combination of in-person counseling and telehealth counseling, alternating biweekly until the wintertime when everything goes to telehealth, which does negatively impact veterans who aren't as technologically savvy or live very rurally and don't have access to internet. And then we have the other providers such as Confluence Health and Columbia Valley Community Health, which, as everyone is aware, the mental health system in general is overtaxed and there's significant wait lists there as well.
Wow. And can you explain what services you provide to the veterans community?
Currently, we support veterans with readjustment counseling, so transitioning from the military culture back into the civilian culture, in addition to counseling revolving around their military service. The majority of that is counseling revolving around post-traumatic stress disorder. Our federal contract is the contract that supports our combat veterans or our highest risk veterans. So it has, I would say, the most critical services that we do support because of the intensity. And unlike previous wars, we have military personnel who have had multiple deployments in addition to traumatic brain injuries that are exacerbating the symptoms of their post-traumatic stress disorder and makes things a little bit more critical than some of the other conflicts that we've experienced in our country.
Telehealth is a good thing for some people. Why is it maybe falling short, or does it fall short for folks with PTSD or vets who have seen, combat?
Absolutely. No, good question. So telehealth has been contraindicated for veterans with PTSD or military-related PTSD because when you're working through trauma processing, it is not an uncommon symptom, and it's one of the symptoms of PTSD itself to have a dissociative episodes. So if they start going someplace mentally and you're not there to physically untrack them or to try to bring them back into the present, it's very difficult to do over the monitor. That in addition to other things that you miss out by doing telehealth. So for example, I have a veteran where right now you're only seeing me, from the waist up, but you have no idea what's going on with my feet. I mean, like that pet vet in particular could be dancing all over the place, and you're not seeing those symptoms of anxiety or being uncomfortable with just the limited screen that they are presenting to you what they want you to see and taking away the opportunity for you to have all of those other visual cues that are going on with them physically, with their hygiene, with what they're wearing. They could be wearing a beautiful button-up shirt and a tie and just be a disaster down below. You have no idea because of what the presentation is. And that's like a small drop in the bucket, but most of it is being able to read all of the other physical cues that's going on with them and draw them back to the present if they do go into a dissociative episode.
Yeah. And so this Dave Willard, the prior deputy director of the Pacific District, he admitted to you that this is an underserved area.
Correct.
So what's the holdup? Why are we so, at the tail end of this and still no resolution?
That's a great question. I guess it's a $260,000 question because that's the annual budget of our contract. So I don't know. The solution was bringing in the community access point, which that is what the Yakima Vet Center is facilitating with the hybrid model with in-person and telehealth. However, having one or even two therapists at one time coming in to do that does not take away the need that's continuing to grow in Central Washington. When they brought in the Yakima Vet Center, that's when they capped us to where we could no longer accept new patients coming in, despite them getting filled up quickly, adding a second therapist. And so there's just has never been a balance or a cohesion. We could have complemented each other very well, but as a result of that, we now have a wait list of that's 25 deep here, and we've also utilized Washington State DVA funds much more quickly than anticipated because we're supporting these higher risk veterans on those funds, which ran out last month. And fortunately, we have some wonderful nonprofits in town that help fundraise, and they're being supported through nonprofit funds until that contract renews on July 1.
Wow. As you say, without immediate action, the contract's expiration will result in, abrupt discontinuation for care of 100 plus veterans, worsening mental health outcomes, and loss of life. Can you kind of go over that briefly? What we're looking at if this goes away.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've been trying to really advocate for and point out to the VA leadership is the escalating violence or veteran-related violence in our community. There is an epidemic of veteran suicides across the country, and unfortunately that impacts our community as well. But what makes Central Washington so unique and bizarre at the same time is starting in 2022 with the veteran-related Apple Blossom shooting, and then in 2023, the additional shooting that happened at the VA clinic itself, and then over on the Eastmont Overpass, and now the tragic loss of this veteran's daughters, assumably at the hands of the veteran. We have this escalating violence in our community with the lack of easy access to supports, right? So if we lose our contract on Monday without a viable alternative outlet, then we're going to be referring these veterans to the Yakima Vet Center and to the VA clinic on the north end, which are already they're already overtaxed and overburdened. So it's a huge ethical, it's a huge dilemma as to what's going to happen to these vets, right? We will continue to support the vets that we can through the DVA funds because that contract does renew in July, but that is just kind of a small drop in the bucket compared to the overall need that we are currently supporting. And that's not even talking about the wait list. So I'm not exactly sure how the problem can be resolved without immediate federal intervention. My hope is that through advocating and through media outlets like yourself, that we're going to get the word out to where somebody who can do something about it will take action and support these veterans because they have sacrificed a lot and one of the Vietnam vets said, like, I didn't realize when I went to Vietnam that I would never leave Vietnam. And so like his counseling services has helped him overcome those challenges. And that's what we're here to do, is try to help bring these guys actually fully, not just physically home, but fully home, and help them overcome the trauma that they've seen.
Yeah, wow. So your call to action, what can people do to support your mission here? Is it calling their congressman? Is it emailing? What can people do?
Calling your congressman, calling even your local politicians too, because it's going to impact Central Washington, not just Wenatchee and East Wenatchee, but even into the other counties, so that there is an awareness and that our local legislators can advocate with our state legislators. We need to advocate with our federal legislators. We have legislators that are advocating for us currently, and they've been doing their due diligence, but we still just keep meeting these different roadblocks. So sounding the siren is basically what I would ask the community to do at large, and just help them have awareness about the level of need that we have. And we've gotten to the point where historically, we've always tried to have press and advocate, but not go too far. But at this point, we're at such a desperate type of situation, I fully expect to get canceled, and that's fine as long as the resources come here. It's never really been about this contract or my business. It's about the veterans in our community having access to the services that they're entitled to.